The Gallagher Shots podcast is sponsored by TyreSpot, the Northeast's leading tyre supplier with branches across the region. TyreSpot don't just do tyres, they cover everything from servicing to wheel alignment. They can handle every aspect of your car's maintenance. For more information, visit tyrespot.co.uk. Enjoy the episode.
Lads and lasses, welcome to the Gallagher Shots podcast. My name is Chris, also joined by Chris. We're going to be going through yesterday's game against Tottenham Hotspur, a win for the Mags as well. Maybe not everyone expected. It was always going to be a tough game, but we got the win in the end. We advanced through in, I was about to call it the Carling Cup there. I don't know if that was maybe showing me age.
Wow.
I constitly call it the Carling Cup, and I need to pack it in because we
it should be the Carling Cup. Fond memories of Carling Cup nights, not just as a Newcastle fan, but as a sports fan, as a football fan. Bring Carling back. They're probably not allowed, to be fair.
Probably not, but arguably better memories of it being the Carabao Cup, in fairness. Very, very true. But yes, of course, a win for Newcastle last night, taking on Tottenham in what was a relatively decent game and a decent performance. We're going to be going through the game and just a little review of what we thought of the performance, and maybe just to get some of your guys' thoughts as well. Leave some comments as below on the YouTube channel and, of course, on Spotify, etc., etc. Just let us know what you thought of the game. But we're going to be running through it and our thoughts and how we thought it went. I'll just go on a loose one from my end here, Chris. I generally thought it was a pretty decent performance. I think, when we were up against Fulham the other week, we didn't see too much there. I was at that game, and I was also at the game last night, and it was a stark contrast for me. I thought we looked very, very comfortable today against candidly a Tottenham team who we always do seem to beat at St. James's, but it's definitely a Tottenham team who you mentioned in the preview have had a very, very good time of things on the road. Didn't turn up at St. James's last night, though, did they?
Far from it. It seems like every other competition apart from the Premier League, Newcastle are putting in decent performances right now. So you look at the previous Champions League 2 games, obviously that away fixture, which blew them away, SK Union. Then the home tie against Benfica as well. We dominated that from start to finish. And once again, you go into the Carabao Cup. You look at the Bradford game. Yes, Bradford at the end of the day, but it was a great performance from our lads, and some key moments from fringe players as well. Then you're right what you're saying. You go into the Spurs game, and I don't think anybody was overly optimistic with that one because it's Spurs, and they have, albeit that they've been pretty bad at home. But the away, I think the last 5 away fixtures, apart from last night, they had won 4 and drew 1. So they had done very, very well. So with our performances, yes, we get 3 points against Fulham, but it wasn't a great performance. We had chances, but we struggled to find at the back of the net at times. And we weren't as clinical in front of goal as what you would like. So you think it could be a tough one tonight. But mate, from the first 10 minutes, I've always said this, the first 10 minutes, you can tell what Newcastle you're going to get, which side's going to turn up. And despite there being some changes, which I was worried about, Bruno wasn't featuring in the middle as well. And I thought, I'm not sure how this is going to pan out. But they never really troubled with it. Maybe a tiny spell in the second half where Ramsdale, which I'm sure we'll get onto in a bit, pulled off some great saves. But it was dominance from start to finish. And I was really impressed with the performances that we saw. And I thought there were some players that needed to have big games. And I think majority of them delivered.
I would say so. Let's run through the goals, and then I'm going to run through some of the players that came into the lineup that we kind of needed to see some performances from, and what we kind of thought of those fringe players coming through. But let's talk through the goals. I mean, the first one come from Fabian Schär. Let's go on the moment that has kind of taken over social media a little bit with the whole boot scenario. So now, it was right on my end. I please no slander. Sit in the East Stand, I should say. So we were right in front of this when it happened with Jed Spence. So there was a bit of a tackle. His boot came off. And candidly, was taking the piss putting it back on. It was taking a while. It doesn't take a grown man 50 seconds to put a boot on. I don't care what anybody says about these new modern boots being tight-fitting or anything like that. It did seem as if he was really trying to take his time. As soon as he was ready to go, referee blew the whistle. We whipped the corner in. Fabian Schär, brilliant header. Really, really good corner, which I think was quite a delight to see, to be honest with you. I think a lot of people have been slandering our corners, not beating the first man for most part of the season. It was nice to see one whipped in very, very well. Great header from Schär. But we've also seen the goal. We know what kind of happened there. The whole situation with the players. Now, they surrounded the referee almost immediately after Kris
Yeah.
kicking off about this. And it was like, well, for me, I'm watching it back and I'm watching the Sky coverage, and they're like, oh, Tottenham should have done that. If they probably feel bad for them. There was 3 players standing next to the bloody corner flag. Why are they not in the box then covering for Spence if he's the one that should be there? That's kind of my whole thing on it. But it feels like we're grasping at straws, Tottenham fans, because frankly, to me, that's your own fault. That's naivety of not getting themselves back into the box.
Those North London clubs, mate, that don't like
Honestly.
decisions. I didn't see this when it happened. I saw obviously the kickoff afterwards, after Fabian scored that amazing header, and I think just to touch on that, it's something which I've been mentioned for weeks that we need to do more from corners. Even if the ball gets delivered in a decent area, I've always said that our centre backs should probably be scoring more goals than what they have been from set pieces. Then Fabian comes into the team and does exactly that. It's a great header. Keeper's got no chance of saving it. Tucks away nicely into the corner. But the whole situation about the boot coming off, like I said, I'm the other side, so I'm the strawberry corner. So I couldn't see what was happening at this point. What are Spurs expecting here? Are they just expecting everybody just to wait to get a boot back? It's not like you've got to sit and tie your laces these days with these modern boots. You just slide your foot into it. But do you know what we should have? We've got ball boys, which aren't allowed to give ball people, which we'll call them now, that are no longer allowed to give the ball to players, which blows my mind. So what we should have, instead of that, give them shoehorns.
You know what? That's actually maybe just the revolution that football
Just
needs.
shoehorns.
People say that football is not as good as it used to be, and maybe that's it. Maybe that's what we need to change now. Bring the shoehorns in for the ball people.
Honestly, you kind of grumble at a shoehorn all over.
Can't grumble.
Like, getting old now, mate. I might need those extended ones.
We went from calling cup to shoehorns being favourable in the household of the Chris's. I think it's one of them. They were kind of grasping at straws. You probably would complain about if he was on the other side, but he really did take a while. Referee waves it in. But then at the same time, I think you were pretty much man for man still in the box. I don't think they were outnumbered, so to speak. I don't think Jed Spencer stopping that irrelevant. A really good goal from Cher puts us 1-0 up heading in.
It was
to
wasn't it? That was booting off the most. I think he get booked for dissent after that. He was the first one to get booked. It was not long after that. Another one of the players got booked as well. But even as it went into half-time, mate, as soon as that half-time whistle went, there must have been about 6 or 7 Spurs players ran and surrounded the referee.
They were proper kicking off.
There was just an injustice about them. I'm like, calm down, lads. Like, what are you talking about?
It did feel a little bit desperate from Tottenham, but I don't know if that was maybe just a representation of the performance. Not to say that they didn't have their chances. I think they definitely had a couple in the first half. That kind of skirting them across the face of the goal. It wasn't necessarily like clear cut, but they had a couple of nearly moments. So the threat was absolutely still there. But heading into the second half, finally get our second goal after what felt like a good couple of chances to start the second half off. But we then get it from, a great header from Nick Valdemar once again. I mean, what's that? 5-6 goals for us already now this season. Yep. He's off to an absolute flyer. Oh, the keeper probably shouldn't have come for it. He's had a bit of a stinker. I was actually coming back from halftime at that point. Not a true fan, was finishing his pint. They're expensive. I was going to finish it off. I'm walking back up. I'm literally walking across my row. I got pelters because I say obviously nobody can see how tall I am on here. I'm 6'2". I'm standing in front, about 15 people in the stand here. I got absolutely battered for it. They were like, bloody hell, I couldn't say it. They were fun. But irrelevant of that, I missed it as well because I was turned the other way. But a big header from Valdemar, nice goal to find. And when we're 2-0 up at that stage, Kris, you kind of feel like it's signed, sealed, and delivered.
Yeah, I thought when we went 1-0 up, mate, like Spurs just never really reacted. Like I said earlier on, they had a couple of probably about 10-minute spell, if that. It's a great save from Ramsdale, who I thought done really well last night. Especially his distribution was unbelievable last night. They didn't look interested at all, and it was strange to see because I know Spurs have got a fair few injuries as well, similar to what we have, and so they couldn't make mass changes. And I'm thinking maybe on a different day they might have made mass changes in this one, and not
more changes than we did, but it wasn't.
I think they made about 4 or 5. But it wasn't a second string team by all means, and I think. Maybe if they had other players fit and ready to go, maybe they would have not threw the competition away. Because I don't like when teams say that, like basically what Slot was saying about Liverpool. Another excuse from him. I don't know. it didn't seem like they wanted to progress, which blows my mind because as a fan base, like we know how much we enjoyed that weekend, and even getting to the likes of Wembley was an experience for us. I don't know. I couldn't fathom it, mate. Like it just seemed phenomenal that there was such a lack of effort. And maybe I'm being too critical on our lads and think maybe it's because we were so good last night that they just couldn't get into a flow of things. But I think just the dominance from us probably set the tone for that one. Hence why they look so bad.
Yeah, I think it was probably us playing better than maybe that they played poorly, so to speak. Because I look, they did have their chances, I suppose, but I think that probably leads us on quite nicely to a chat on some of the players who did come in. So there was a good few changes on our end. Actually, contrary to what I seen one, and again, I don't even actually know why I'm giving it even any sort of mention here, but some fans saying, "Oh, look at the strength of the team they're putting out because this is the cup that matters," etc., etc. There was, and it got a lot of traction on socials saying they were taking the mick out of us for putting a strong team out in the Carabao Cup against a team like Tottenham. But relevant of that,
put a strong side out and get knocked out in the first round that you're in.
Well, that's also true. But then I think this kind of highlights where our squad depth is at now, because we actually put quite a few changes out realistically. We've seen Ramsey come in. Ramsey was starting after his absence from the weekend. We've seen Joe Willock starting, and the Langer, of course, Ramsdale, and we've seen Kraft. We kind of did see a little bit of a mix-up with Sharkman back in as well, top of my head as well. Yeah, Barnes starting too, which I would argue there's 6 or 7 not starters in that lineup from what you would call our best team. But irrelevant of that, like let's chat on who we actually really liked the performances from and who we didn't love it from. For me, actually, the one that did stand out immediately that I was like, I'm not too sure about that was Willock starting with Ramsey in there as well. I always kind of put them in the same kind of position. It's kind of those three in that position like Joe Linton typically would start in. You like to sort of see them as that marauding player who's going to go forward and cause some problems. To see them both starting, especially Willock there, I kind of squinted at my screen, my mobile phone a little bit when I was like, okay, well, I'm not sure about Willock starting. Yes, okay, rotation has to be there. But I don't think he was too bad. He definitely had a couple of Joe Willock moments in a certain sense, but also not a terrible performance from Willock. But something we kind of chatted about beforehand, is that kind of the standard now? That is a good performance from Joe Willock. It's it just wasn't shit.
I don't want to be harsh, like, because it was such a good performance from the team last night, and so important that we got through this round against decent opposition as well. But I saw a lot of people, and even in our chat, people saying, "Oh, Willock's much better." And from what I was watching, I thought, well, he's had an okay game. Like maybe it's just that because as a fan base, the bar's been so low recently with Willock's performances. Maybe we're looking at the performance saying, "Oh, he's had a really good performance," when really he's just had a bang average performance for me.
Yeah.
Yes, he puts in a great ball, doesn't he? For Voldemar's goal. I love those lifted balls that just hang in the air for ages. They don't have to hang very, very long when Big Nick's up there, like. But I love those little floater balls into the box, and that's exactly what he did. So, but there's a couple of moments, like you said, a couple of Willock moments. He had a shot which he should have scored from. It just trickles past the back post, and he's blaming Voldemort for not getting on the end of it. A couple of other moments where I don't know, like. Maybe I'm being too critical. Maybe I'm being too harsh on him. But I just thought it was an okay performance. I didn't think he set the world alight. But what can you ask for at this point? He comes in out with the cold. He's not really had many minutes recently. And he done well. He done all right. I think that's as much credit as I'm going to give him, because I don't want to big him up too much, because I don't want to come crashing back down to earth.
No, of course not. And I think as well, though, the thing is for me with Willock is the sense that when he's going to get a run in the team, he'll perform well, but that's just not going to happen with how good our midfield is. He's not going to get that opportunity. I think, we've seen it in Eddie's first season when Bruce was here, like how good he was in our team and how good he can be. But he's a total confidence player, a one that needs a run in the team, which kind of moves me on to another player who we need to see some confidence from. We need to see something turn up from. And again, we won the game 2-0. I don't want to necessarily make this like a.
I love how we start on the players that didn't really have great performances.
Yeah, let's move to Anthony Elanga. Like for me, I'm very much an optimistic Tunn fan. I actually get battered
Mm.
from a lot of my pals quite often in the sense of like, oh, I bet you thought that wasn't that bad. And I'm like, well, no, I didn't think it was that bad. And I didn't think that, I'm one of the happy clappers, so to speak. I don't know when my patience is going to run out, but it's starting to slightly wear thin with Elanga. There's so many times that there's a couple of lads I sit next to in these stands, so we get a good view of them when we're shooting towards the leasers. And there's so many times that you would think a player with his pace is going to make that run. He's going to go in behind. And he's always so often just not making that move. Is that and then we always have the discussion of like, okay, well, is that instruction? Eddie Howe knows more about football than we do. Is he telling him to do this? But then when Murphy comes on, he's bombing down that line. So I'm confused at what Elanga's role is in this team right now, and I'm confused at what he's bringing to the table because right now it's just not, frankly, a lot. Especially when we signed him out, I was buzzing about it, but I've not seen anything that's convinced me with Elanga just yet.
I think last night it was highlighted massively, like what you're saying. He never seemed to just drive at a player, and if he did, he always cut inside and ran into three players. Like you would see three players in front of me. I'm just going to try and get through them, which it's never going to work. Of course, it's not. And like you said, because we are sitting in the strawberry corner when we're attacking the Gallagher, I can see just a clear run from right back to right wing because bang in front of us to what sort of runs are being made and the tactics in there. And you're right, you seem to sit on the halfway line and ask for the ball there with back to goal rather than running into those dangerous positions and trying to create an attack from that. If that's tactical, I'm questioning why when we know his biggest attribute right now is pace. Like, if anything, he's going to be a player. And I think he tried it once early on, and their left back just caught up with him straight away. And I think he got a free kick because of it, because he got pushed in the back. But he never really tried it after that. And I think I wanna not be harsh on this one because the people around me yesterday, they weren't the normal season ticket holders that are sitting here, because we're in my area, you see the same faces every single match day. And there was a fella behind us. I'll get on this fella in a little because he's really annoying us for something else, which is completely nothing to do with this. But every time Elanga got the ball, he kept on saying, "Just run at him." Like, that's all well and good. Yes, we know that he's got pace, but just because he's got pace doesn't mean that every single time he has the ball, he's just got to run down the wing.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of fans are expecting from Elanga. They're just expecting him to beat his man every single time by pace. And you just can't do that because a lot of defenders will realize that's what he has in his locker.
Yeah.
So they're going to be ready to make those challenges. And we've seen it so many times. Look at that. I think Dan Burn's a perfect example of this. Dan Burn lacks pace. We all know that. And when he's coming up against a pacey winger, 9 out of 10 times he makes a challenge to get the ball, whether that's a last-ditch challenge or a tackle or whatever it may be. He's normally involved in it. And I'm curious to find out why people expect Elanga to do it 100% of the time. Okay. Yes, last night he probably should have done it more than what he had done. But once again, it goes back to the point, was this tactical in the first half? God knows. I think last night, yes, he didn't have a fantastic performance. There was a couple of moments where it was audible in St. James's Park, the frustration, the groans coming, like I said, when he's just running direct into players. I think it'll come with Elanga. I think it's far too early to write him off at this moment in time. I think all of a sudden it'll click. I think right now he's got a touch of the Almirons where he needs to get a goal. Last night again, that the ball's lifted into the box and he's ready to run and smash onto that, similar to the Fulham game as well. And it's just nicked off him last minute. I think once he gets his goal, in fact, once he gets his assist, why hasn't he got an assist in the Premier League yet either? I think our only winger to have any goal involvement in the Premier League is Murphy at the minute with a goal and an assist. I don't think anybody else has got one. I think it'll come. I just think, like you said, even with yourself, that patience is running thin right now. He's not costing him games. I think that's the positive note to put on it right now. He's not costing him games. I think if he had been standing out like a sore thumb to ruin in certain moments in the game, then fair enough. But we're not at that point just yet.
No, not yet. I think, it does take time. I remember the first 6 months when we signed Gordon. I think a lot of people were like, Jesus, he just really didn't set the world on fire at all. And the next season he banked 15, 16 goals in or something. So there is more than enough time for Anthony Lang. He's still very young. We'll see what happens. But
there's a player there, Chris. Like, he doesn't hit his stats
100%.
from last season if there's not. Like, and he was up there with Murphy for his goal involvements last season. So I've still got faith in him. So let's give it till after Christmas, and let's see where we're at.
We'll see where we're at. One that I do want to highlight for a good performance, though, was Ramsdale. I think, again, kind of came in and did what we expect him to do. The distribution there once again was fantastic. On multiple occasions, he can find that pass. He's the complete opposite to Pope, isn't he? In a certain sense. I remember actually chatting with somebody behind me saying, I really like Ramsdale and what he's able to do with his feet, because the skip behind us was saying, oh, well, Pope wouldn't have done that. And I know, but at the same time, Pope's probably a better shot stopper. Then Ramsdale pulls off one of the best saves I've seen this season. The dives to side, the one where he lifted it over the top of the bar was brilliant. Good performance from Ramsdale overall.
It was a great performance, really was. Yeah. I think I don't think Pope's in any risk of losing his starting point because Pope's been great for us this season. Yeah. There was a moment where the Spurs are on attack towards the Gallagher, and the ball bounces in such a awkward space between defense and your goalkeeper, and Ramsdale's so quick off his line to come and deal with it. I think he chests it down.
He chested it through the middle of
four players. Yeah. Then he just absolutely smashes that. I think it does go out of touch or goes towards the far corner. But there was no nervous groans from the crowd. Whereas if that was Pope, as soon as he starts running off his line, you hear like that. You hear it from our home fans, and you didn't get it from when Ramsdale did it. And yes, we know his distribution is good. He pinged a great ball out, very similar to. It was like a mirror image when Pope threw the ball out for Barnes at the Benfica game, but Ramsdale did it with his feet from the deck. He just literally smashed it in a dangerous area, like an area that you probably should see a Langer running into. Those sort of spaces. So he's got everything by the looks of it. He really does. Do you know what it is? I think we've been blessed recently with goalkeepers first and second choice, and I think we've just carried. Yes, we've lost to Bravka, who's having a fantastic season at Burnley.
Yes.
But I think we've replaced him with a decent keeper as well. Once again, he's only had this is his second game at the club, a competitive game. So it's if we're saying it's too early to judge a Langer who's had a few games as well, we can't really judge Ramsdale on a couple of decent performances either. But this is what the cup competitions are for, to see these sort of players. So if anything was to happen to Pope, whether that's an injury, suspension, whatever it may be, then at least we've got confidence in the keeper coming in and doing well.
A lot of confidence. I think I briefly touching. I thought Ramsey was solid enough. Didn't necessarily light it up, but he's just very tidy on the ball. I like his progression. What we've seen from Kraft was kind of what you were really expecting. Nice to see Shaw come back in, obviously, and get his goal as well. But I wanted to move on to one final moment. I know you've got to get yourself away, and I want to quickly as well touch on the next round in our opponent who's going to be coming up in that. But there's a lot being made of that Joe Linton tackle in the second half online. I don't think it was really that bad. I've seen worse tackles from Joe Linton in my time, and there is plenty. But at the same time, there's been a lot made of that one. And then Xavi Simons, of all people, who, by the way, just small moment on him. I thought that was a brilliant sign for Tottenham, and he's been quite shit, frankly. Yeah. I thought we seen nothing from. But when that whole thing kicked off as well, like of all the people to square up to Joe Linton, Xavi Simons is not the one to do that. He's
shit his pants just afterwards.
Absolutely caked it. But a lot of people making a lot out of that tackle, Chris. I don't really think it wasn't that bad. It was a yellow card, but it wasn't that bad.
It's a yellow card. And I've seen a few people saying that he's looking not to get sent off for the challenge and then the reaction. How often do you see that happen? Like, you never see that happen where...
He wasn't the one to react, really, was he? Like, it was they were the ones who reacted, and he was like, well, yeah.
Was it Kudos that pushed him over? It wasn't it?
It was Kudos,
it's just one of them. It's a yellow card. Like, no. I don't see what the mourning about is it. Well, I'm saying mourning. It's some of it was from our fan base saying he was lucky to stay on the field as well. Nah, it's a yellow card. Just move on with it.
Yeah, yellow card.
It wasn't. It's not that he's gone in with force. Yes, it's a scissor challenge, but it's I don't know. Like, it was half force. It looked like he slipped into it.
Yeah, pulled him over with his legs, really, didn't he?
Yeah,
I don't think
there's no malicious intent there.
had he come in at speed and like hit him midway up his knee or whatever, then fair enough. Yes, okay. I think you've got.
You'd be more worried if, in case Jordan injured himself, because we know, like, he's at the minute he looks like he's about to get injured at any point when there's any sort of challenge going in on him. So you wouldn't expect him to go and clatter a player. I think it was a yellow card. I don't think you can look too much into it. Like, it is what it is. It happens.
It does happen. Well, I mean, that's the win for Newcastle, though, and advancing on into the next stage. We are into the quarterfinals, the Dizzy Heights. We love the Carabao Cup, don't we? I mean, look, realistically speaking, Eddie Howe's record, I think, in this competition now, I think it's 17 wins, 2 losses since he's been with us. In this competition, we very clearly do enjoy it, going well at the moment in the quarterfinals against Fulham at home. Fantastic draw, that, by the way. Pretty much as good as you could have hoped for. I think it was them or Cardiff that you wanted at home, and we get Fulham at home. Obviously, you just played them the other week in what was not a great game, albeit, but at the same time, you'd feel pretty confident of advancing through the semi-finals, right, Chris?
I was watching the draw as it happened, even though it takes a million years for it to go through. I think it started when I got on the metro. I got off at Tyne and it still hadn't been done. So that's a good 25-minute metro journey. And I think, as it was panning out, you thought it was going to be City, because every other team got picked. You thought it was going to be City. But I said to the people I was with on the metro, just look at what we did last season. If we get a home fixture, then we can beat anybody on the day, especially in this competition. Like, we love this competition, so you just never know. When it turned out to be Fulham, you thought, fair enough. Like, we'll take that all day long. Of course we will. You're progressing in the rounds, and that's exactly what I want to do as a fan base. So yeah, like, honestly, I would have took anybody. It looks like on paper, if you're looking at the last 4 teams which are going to be left, then it's a very, very strong set of teams that are going to be left. But it's not played on paper at the end of the day, so anything could happen. But I'm optimistic for this one. I think a couple of lads in our group had already booked the hotel for the weekend again, ready to do it. I think I'll probably wait until see what happens at the next one.
Book a cancelable one.
Yeah, true. But before I forget, because I said I was going to mention why this bloke was annoying us. Before. So I've never heard this before, man. I think I realized why it was said, but he kept on referring to Harvey Barnes as the Archer.
I don't think I've ever. Why would he?
Because of his celebration, but he wouldn't say Barnes, and he kept on calling him the Archer, and it was really annoying us.
It's one of them, like, just a bit cringy, isn't it? Like we know who you're talking about, but mate, has anyone ever actually called him that?
Yeah, I think maybe it's just him, and he's trying to start something, and it's just not happening. It's like, maybe he's like created like a FIFA Pro or something like that and didn't have his name. So he thought, I'm going to just call myself the Archer. It was really annoying. It's fun. Like, do you know when something is really daft and annoys you? The more I heard it, I was like, I just want Bonds to get taken off the field now so I don't have to have this anymore.
I think everyone has that in the stadium, though. I mean, everyone has people around them that have been at least for a good few years that, honestly, there's one guy whose voice is literally burned into the back of my head, who sits a few rows behind me, who complains at the linesman for absolutely anything, which you are the home crowd. It is your given right to do that, but his voice is so annoying. I'm not going to call him out. It is what it is. But it's just one in case he's watching, you're being like, there's that idiot who's always sniggering when I'm always laughing at. The line of us.
There's that idiot that was stood in front of us for the Voldemort goal.
maybe that's the annoyance that he has with me, big tall idiot. But overall, good performance and a good draw for Newcastle. Chris, is there any further thoughts on this one? Good performance, happy all around. I was home with me Subway, nice and happy.
Exactly. Do you know what it is? It's 3 home wins on the bounce now. So what more can we ask for? We've been asking for both performances and points. I think we need to carry this into the Premier League, and we've got a very, very good chance of doing that against West Ham. Let's hope that Newcastle's doctor surgery remains closed, and Dr. Newcastle will not be seeing anybody at the weekend, because West Ham are stinking this league out at the moment. And it will be typical Newcastle United to go and do exactly what I don't want them to do. But fingers crossed we can just continue this. I think the biggest thing to take from this is that we didn't have to give the likes of Bruno a full 90 minutes in this. Yes, he comes on. I don't think he touched the ball, to be fair, when he came on. But it's nice to be in this position where we have these opportunities to rotate the squad. Yes, we would like another few players to be back so we can do that even more. So we'll like see your fullbacks and Wissa coming into it as well. That'll happen in time. But right now, this is probably the best position that we've been squad-wise for a little while. So long may it continue. It's nice to have this luxury, right? Especially that centre-back position as well. We are blessed right there at the moment. But yeah, it's nice to be able to do that. And another big game coming up this time next week again in the Champions League. So the games are just coming so quick right now. It's
thick and fast,
unbelievable.
Mate. Yeah, thick and fast. We're just flying podcasts out, to be honest with you. There's match previews, reviews. We're honestly absolutely sick to death talking about Newcastle United. But if you're not sick to death about listening to us, then you can, of course, subscribe on YouTube. But wherever you get your podcast from, make sure you are subscribed to the Gallagher Shots podcast channel. Kris, thank you very much for this sort of chat on what was a very good performance and win for Newcastle United. Of course, as mentioned, Fulham is the next one coming up in this cup, but we've got West Ham coming up this weekend. There will be a preview for that coming on the channel this week as well. So, lads and lasses, I hope you enjoyed the game, and we will chat to you next time. See you then.